Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 16th, 2010. I'd ask Mr. Sean Leonard in the audience, a scout, to please come up here and assist us in the pledge, please, and if we could all stand for the pledge. Sean Leonard, please step to the dais. Come on up. If his father would like to join him, feel free. Dad? Come on up. Go. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Sean Leonard, Cub Scout of Elmhurst there. And to make this meeting official, I'd ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Gutenkopf.
Here.
Pezza.
Here.
Shea.
Here.
Leader.
Here.
Rose. Absent. Bram.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
York.
Here.
Nybo.
Here.
Healy. Absent. Morley.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
12 present, 2 absent.
12 present, 2 absent. We have an official quorum. On to item number 3 on the agenda, receipt of written communications and petitions from the public. If anyone has any written communications or petitions at this time, if you please rise and please present those to Clerk Spencer, who is up here to my right in the lovely pink sweater. Feel free to present those at this time. Any written communications or petitions from the public? Seeing none, I go on to item number 4, which is our public forum portion of our meeting, where people from Elmhurst have up to 3 minutes to speak about any Elmhurst issue they may have. If you would like to speak for public forum, please raise your hand. I'll call on you, and you could go up to either mic to my right along the wall or to my left along the wall. Please state your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes. So this woman here off to my right. Thank you.
Carol Visich, V as in Victor, ICICH, 110 West Butterfield Road. I am representing Royal York Condominiums. Our building extends approximately 2 blocks along Euclid Avenue, south of Butterfield, in the area of the new hospital. I am here this evening because we adamantly oppose a request made by the single-family homeowners of our neighborhood to close the juncture of Lexington and Euclid Avenues in our neighborhood. Prior to the construction of the new hospital, our community and these residents had serious concerns about the high volume of traffic the hospital generates each day. At this time, our concerns were warranted by the open roads at Euclid, Kendall, and Kirk leading to the hospital. With the assistance and cooperation of the hospital, Elmhurst City staff, our zoning commission, and elected officials, we were successful in completely resolving this issue. A permanent barrier has been installed along Harvard Avenue, and emergency access at Harvard and Euclid will be blocked by a gate installed when the hospital opens. Together, this will completely segregate the hospital and residential traffic. Since this time, however, the single-family homeowners have petitioned City Hall to close Lexington at Euclid. In a meeting with hospital representatives, the neighbors cited pedestrian safety as their sole concern. We would submit the following. The unincorporated neighbors perceive a traffic issue where none exists now, nor is there any indication one will exist in the future. As explained, when the new hospital opens, the business traffic will be completely segregated from the residential traffic. Since the unincorporated neighbors are not requesting, nor does it appear they desire, Lexington to be closed at Kirk Avenue, they accomplish nothing by closing off Euclid because both these roads offer identical access from Butterfield Road into our neighborhood. Our association owns a parking strip along Euclid Avenue. Some residents use this and the public roadway parking all day, but most use it as they come and go throughout the day. We use the red light at Lexington and York for both safety and convenience. Sealing off Lexington at Euclid removes our entire community's ability to make use of the public roadways in our own neighborhood of over 40 years that we pay for and have a right to enjoy. We feel the unincorporated neighbors have made an unreasonable request, and in the alternative, it would seem the most intelligent way to address any concerns they may have toward pedestrian safety would be to provide them with sidewalks. We also feel that the hospital has literally bent over backwards to address the entire neighborhood's concerns and work cohesively with us for a very long period of time. Their current zoning petition should not be delayed as a result of unwarranted demands. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss. Anyone else for public forum at this time? The woman in the purplish striped sweater there? There you go.
Hi, my name is Tamara Brenner. That's Tamara, B as in boy, Renner. And I live at 137 North Carolina Avenue. And I usually do not engage in any of the political stuff in my town, but I do live in this town, and I did read the newspaper last week and was a little startled to see the couple of articles about the invocation or prayer being used at the city council meeting that started recently. I'm quite pleased to see that it has been taken under some advisement and has not been in place tonight, and I hope that becomes a permanent decision, although I think probably the issue has not gone away, and it probably is going to be further discussed at some other level, which maybe you guys can tell me what level that is. I do think I'm part of the vast, usually silent, probable majority who is concerned about the intermingling of religion and government, and I hope that we don't get to a place where that's become a permanent part of the city council in this city. Thanks.
Thank you, Miss. Anyone else for public forum at this time? Mrs. Forbush, or I'm sorry, Heslop. I apologize.
Darlene Heslop, 200 North Michigan Avenue, number 227 in Elmhurst. The mayor argues that he is within his constitutional right to institute prayer at the onset of the city council meetings. This has led to a great deal of controversy, as his "it's all about me" attitude has angered many, as they feel this is not about him, but about us. I've heard nothing but citizens expressing their desire for the mayor to stop immediately any further attempts to begin city council meetings with a public invocation. It is distressing when these same people tell me they wonder why I even bother to voice my opinions, since they feel that there are several aldermen that are going to do whatever the mayor wants, as they owe him. Quote, "They are more concerned about themselves than they are about us," end quote. Now that's an interesting comment. Do you, Alderman Kennedy and Wagner, feel as if you are indebted to the mayor for your committee chairmanships as first-term brand-new council members? Do you, Alderman York, feel similar about yours as a first-term vice chairman? Do you, Alderman Hipskin, feel that by preventing residents from speaking at your committee after they waited nearly 2 hours, that your Fourth Ward constituents will continue to look favorably upon you, as well as will actions such as this cause you to continue to be a favorite of the mayor's? Alderman Morley, do you feel as if you are obligated to go along with the mayor's request, even though the vast majority of residents are not in favor? If you all do not support the mayor and his desire for prayer at the start of every meeting, do you fear repercussions similar to what behest Alderman Mulliner when he chose not to vote for the committee assignments and method of choosing a new attorney? The mayor points out that the U.S. legislature prays before its sessions. I can imagine what John Edwards must have prayed. "Dear God, please be sure my wife never finds out about my mistress and illegitimate child." He also mentions our own state leadership. We have one of the most corrupt states in the Union, so prayer obviously isn't helping. State Representative Angelo Saviano has introduced legislation that will effectively tax municipalities like Elmhurst that have voted not to have video gambling. He has further stated his same bill will withhold state monies for non-compliance. Talk about blackmail and extortion. Here's the best part. The mayor gave $350 to Saviano's re-election campaign. Perhaps the mayor is looking for some divine intervention in order to explain that brilliant political move. We've had enough of the immature game playing. We understand your need to implement taxes to keep the city running. However, on an issue such as having prayer opening our city council meetings, we feel as if we have the right to say no. Mayor and Aldermen, you owe us to act on behalf of the majority and withdraw this proposed change to the city council agenda forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heslop. Anybody else for public forum at this time? Gentleman in the back there?
My name is Claude Pagach. I live at 566 West Gladys. In the last couple of months, certain things have come up under this new administration. The city council hired an individual and stumbled over its own words, trying to describe what he was going to do. They were willing to vote him in, and pay him $55,000 or better for 12 to 16 hours worth of work. The mayor was more than happy to hire a new legal firm. And what we find is we have 2 legal firms. I wish to find out somehow when we will have 1 legal firm. Seems to be costing us a great deal of money to have 2 guys argue. We also had come up in these meetings about a member of the EDC. Mayor wanted him put back in the office. City Council had some objection to it all. And it was tabled. And everybody said, don't have to worry about them. They can write ordinances. He may not be able to write ordinances, but he has the ear of this council, this mayor, and this administration. Now, you're either going to vote him in, or you're going to replace him. He's supposed to be out of office now. It's almost a year that he's sitting in there without any of you nodding your head yes. And then, in one of the meetings, a little note in one of your agendas that you need a special waste hauler for that new parking garage. Why do you need a special waste hauler? Why not just hire a regular excavator? It's very expensive. But that too will one day, maybe, we'll hear about. This mayor and this council call for transparency. In the last couple of months, what has really taken place is this council and the so-called transparency has turned opaque. There's no need for any of you members to ask questions. Whatever on the agenda, you just vote yes for. And that's the way this town has been run. And all the speeches about transparency was while you were running for office. Other than that, if it's on the agenda, it's acceptable. You used to ask questions. You don't anymore. And all the tea parties and all the stores of donuts and talking to people is not going to change what I've seen take place here in the last couple of months.
Thank you, sir. As a point of correction, we only have 1 law firm. We did have a transition, as everybody knows. We are fully transparent, and we spoke about that. So, but we only have 1 law firm. So, but I normally don't reply to public comment, but I wanted to clear that for the air. And also, Angelo Saviano was the chief sponsor of Brianna's Law. So I would be happy to donate to Angelo Saviano. He's a Republican that was near and dear to me, and he brought home 10,000 kids insurance for autism, Ms. Heslop. God bless you. Anybody else for public forum? Okay. See that? I close public forum and I go to our consent agenda. I understand we have 1 item that we'd like to possibly remove from the consent agenda, which is item number M. I will take that up.
That's correct, yes. Vice Chairman Rose and I want to do a couple of changes to our report and add more data to it. So we're pulling it back to committee.
Very good. Anybody else that'd like to remove anything off the consent agenda? We're removing item M. Alderman Pezza?
O.
O. Okay. And anybody else? Alderman Gutenkopf?
Item L.
L. Anybody else? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, less items I, M, and O. Motion, please?
L.
Oh, excuse me. L, M, and O. I apologize, my mistake. I'd ask for a motion, please. Alderman Morley, Alderman York, seconds. And ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Morley.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader. Rose, absent. Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
Nybo. Healy, absent. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner. Wagner.
Aye.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. That motion carries to approve the consent agenda, less items L, M, and O. Item number L is a report. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read the report, please.
It is therefore the recommendation of the Public Affairs and Safety Committee that the city attorney prepare a final ordinance regarding pawn shops and pawnbrokers, and the city council enact that ordinance to regulate future pawn shops in Elmhurst. Respectfully submitted, Public Affairs and Safety Committee, signed by Pat Wagner, Chairman, Chris Nybo, Vice Chairman, and Paula Pezza.
And at this time, I ask for a motion and a second to put this on the floor, please. Alderman Wagner motions, Alderman Nybo seconds, and discussion.
I'd like to defer to Alderman Nybo.
Okay.
Well, this is a report following up on a recommendation, a request from Alderman Rose to enact an ordinance regulating pawn shops. We've never had an ordinance that specifically applies to pawn shops. This is in connection with an issue that we dealt with several months ago. And our proposal here is to adopt an ordinance with several different facets to it. And I'd be happy to answer any particular questions or discuss any particular concerns with the recommendation.
Alderman Gutenkopf?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I just have two questions. My first concerns one of the bullet points, the one that expands the list of individuals who are prohibited from pawning items. I'm curious as to how that works. How do we identify this? These have to be people that...
Yeah, I'll defer to the city manager on this, but I believe that we conduct background checks on any person who wants to come in and open a pawn shop in our community, and that's going to reveal anybody who's convicted of a particular crime. And those people are going to be prohibited under the ordinance from operating in our community. But I'll defer to City Manager Borcher as to that requirement.
I defer to the attorney.
That's accurate, though. I think both. I think Alderman Nybo said it accurately. We're seeking, through the input of the police department, to in fact restrict some of the individuals that would be capable of holding such a license.
Well, except that's not what this says.
Right.
If I may, it says the expansion of individuals who are prohibiting from pawning items, not from opening pawn shops. So does that mean that every person who walks into a pawn shop has to undergo a background check before they're allowed to pawn an item?
If you're pawning, you can only do it as the way the ordinance is written in a pawnbroker shop. And so you're going to be prohibited from pawning if you can't get one of these licenses. If you can't obtain a license and pass the background check, you're not going to be able to pawn. But so you can only pawn, as I understand the way the ordinance was drafted, if you're in a pawn shop.
No, I mean, does this affect an individual who would walk in off the street with an item that they wanted to bring into the pawn shop?
Oh, no.
For the operator.
The operator of the pawn shop.
So the owner is the person pawning, not a person walking into the shop.
Yeah. Well, yes, I think that's the intent. And you raise a good question. I see what you're saying now. I didn't follow before. But the restriction is seeking to restrict the owner of the pawn shop.
I see. And that then would affect my second question, which I was wondering how cash for gold jewelers would be exempt from this if the action to pawn is the individual seeking to sell an item. So I guess that question's rather moot if the intent of this is to prohibit the owner of the pawn shop from operating if they've been convicted of a felony.
That's correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're clear that what we're talking about is the owner of the pawn shop, not the individual walking into the pawn shop.
Not the individual walking in.
So how does this then, how does this address the question of people pawning illegally obtained goods? Isn't that what this is intended to address?
No.
I mean, I'm a bad guy and I have an illegally obtained television set and I walk into a pawn shop and I want to sell it to the pawn shop.
There are a bunch of go ahead. There are a bunch of safeguards in the ordinance to preclude that type of thing from happening. Safeguards that the police department demanded as a part of the ordinance.
Alderman Nybo?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Alderman Gutenkopf, if you just look at some of the factors here, several factors are tailored to prevent that very type of transaction from occurring. The third one is detailed photographs of any jewelry. Chief Neubauer talked about how, it's very difficult to describe in words jewelry, and so, photographing jewelry will help prevent that problem. Also, there's going to be video surveillance of all transactions. That's going to go a long way. So if you're talking about, large consumer products like televisions or stereos or matters like that, several factors here are going to go to preventing that very type of problem from occurring.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I'll also call out the second to last item here is we're extending the time that items need to be kept in the shop for up to 30 days, which will enable the law enforcement authorities, when there is a report of stolen goods, it'll give them more time to actually check with the pawn shops to see if there's anything, in the stores.
Thank you.
Good discussion. Anybody else for discussion on this particular item? Hearing none, I ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Wagner.
Aye.
Nybo.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose, absent. Bram.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Morley. Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. That motion does pass. The report passes. On to item number M, letter M, I should say, is another report. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read the report, please.
Point of order.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
We're pulling that back to committee.
I apologize. Thank you. That'll
Thank
get
you.
pulled back to committee. On to item O, which is a resolution. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read that resolution, please.
A resolution authorizing the issuance of a notice of award for plumbing for the First Street Parking Deck Project for the City of Elmhurst, Illinois.
And at this time, I ask for a motion and a second to put that item on the floor, please. Alderman Kennedy and Alderman Bram seconds. Discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll defer to Alderman Pezza, who raised the question.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to point out, I was actually very pleased when I read the report and the notation that in this bid, we actually ended up saving an extra $30,000. And I was wondering if perhaps Chairman Kennedy could explain a little further. It says plumbing lowered their prior, U.S. Plumbing lowered their prior bid by approximately $30,000 with no change in the scope of the work, which I think is excellent, but I'm just wondering how we got so fortunate to have a bid actually be lowered. And I also just want to stress that since we are seeing a $30,000 savings, that we don't find another place to spend it, that we actually can focus on saving it. So I'm curious how we got so fortunate.
Alderman Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost, yes, we will make sure that that $30,000 goes to the right place. The reason we had this savings was because the first bid package that went through, there was a mistake, and the low bidder at that time did not have their bond in hand. There wasn't part of the process, so we ended up pulling back and letting everybody rebid, which then U.S. Plumbing came in and went 30 below what the previous low bidder was, and therefore that's the result of the savings there. So our job is then to make sure that these guys, like everybody else, does a good job, and that, you know, we get what we pay for, and they're not trying to find their savings themselves.
Very good.
Okay.
And just so everybody knows out in the audience that this is on the parking deck, and this is the plumbing for the parking deck, which is totally bidded out right here at City Hall, sealed bid, open bid by the clerk. And so when we talk about bidding, we're watching the numbers, we're doing sealed bids, and that's how Elmhurst does it. So it's a very good practice, and we're saving dollars. And the bids are coming in very aggressive on the parking deck too, so way under what the budget is, which is great. Any other discussion?
I'm not sure if it's an appropriate time or maybe under other business to ask a separate question regarding the garage, or should I wait?
Probably under other business. Okay. Very good. Anybody else for discussion of this item? If hearing none, I'll ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Bram.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose, absent. Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Nybo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Morley.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent. That resolution passes. And we are going to pull the committee report, which is item 6A. That's going to go back to committee for further deliberation. On to item number 7, which is reports and recommendations of elected officials. I'd like to give a couple of updates on the Hahn Street property.
Just point of order, Mayor.
Sure.
Just from a procedural standpoint, City Attorney, does that need to be done verbally via the committee chair and a second from the committee chair? Or the verbal from the mayor, from the chairman is sufficient? I just want to make sure we're following the correct ordinances.
I think at this point in the agenda, any alderman, you know, I wouldn't think any
Only
alderman
takes one.
couldn't speak to a subject that they wanted to speak to as an update of what's happening in the
No, I'm
city.
just saying from pulling it back from a committee, is it a necessity, just from a procedural checkoff point of view, that the committee members pull it back to committee? That's all.
Are you referring to?
He's referring to 6A.
A?
Yeah.
Oh, I apologize.
I asked about that. I don't believe it
Yeah.
is. The committee member asked me up front to pull that off.
Okay,
So,
and I did say that too.
yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't debating the fact if there was communication. I just wanted to make sure we're dotting the i's and
No, I
crossing
think
the
it's
t's.
appropriate. I asked whether or not we wanted to table, but it's appropriate to remove anything from the agenda that somebody felt was not ready.
Okay,
to
thank you.
Proceed. Very good. And on to item 7, 7A, reports and recommendations of elected officials. The Hahn Street project is going to be at our next DPZ meeting. We are going to have a special meeting. The DPZ will be meeting at 7 p.m. instead of 7:30. We're going to do that so that all the aldermen at the council, because this is a big important issue for economic development in this town, so it'll give us all an opportunity to be present. It will not be a committee of the whole. It will be a DPZ meeting with the ability for aldermen and other elected officials like myself to be there, listen, and ask questions if need be as well, too. So wanted to make everybody aware on that. Committees will be on regular schedule at 7:30. So the normal committees that we normally have will all be meeting separately, starting at 7:30. And just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. Alderman Wagner, you have a question?
I don't know, I could have found out the day of, but is the meeting location going to move? Because it sounds like there'll be a few more people.
It'll be here in the council chambers. Good question,
Thank
though.
you.
Yeah. Alderman Morley?
And if I might add, City Manager Borchard asked me about this. There's actually a pending issue with Hahn Street and with Morningside in front of our committee. And Morningside wants to come in and give us an update. And I think, I actually don't have any specific knowledge, but they want to give us an update on the development itself and possibly some changes they might want to make. City Manager Borchert and the mayor felt that it was a big enough situation or a big enough conversation where they felt it would be beneficial if the meeting was arranged in such a manner that other members of the council could be there to attend and provide input.
And likewise for the public, too, because it's an important development for our town, and to be able to hear the developer out as to what his intentions are.
I think we'll do it in here.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Chairman. Appreciate it. Also, on that docket for that meeting, too, will be discussion on banks. It's been a hot issue as far as do we legislate banks, et cetera. So that's going to be another item on that particular agenda. And last on my report is the issue of prayer. I have decided to let this get vetted out in committee, and this will be on the committee agenda, Finance Committee. So those that are interested in attending, please keep an eye on that, and we will make sure that the next meeting we had a lot of items on that last agenda. We had an alderman that had a family issue, and I was sick myself. But we will make sure that people are able to speak at that as well, too. Alderman Hipskin made sure that would happen, and Chairman Hipskin, I should say. So in order to build consensus on this issue, I am going to let it go to committee and let it go through the process. So, all righty. And any other reports or recommendations from anybody else here at the dais at this time? Alderman? Okay. Hearing none, I'd go on to other business. Any other business that anybody like to discuss at this time? Alderman Pezza.
Yes, thank you. Just if we could get a quick update, especially for Alderman Gutenkopf and myself, regarding the large garage. I'm kind of embarrassed to say someone asked me about the final drawings, and I had to stop and think, because I don't recall if we ever actually saw a final drawing. I remember seeing preliminaries, and so I'd like to ask Mr. Borchert, did we ever see a final on the drawings, and did the council approve it? Because I don't recall that.
Yes.
We did. Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
I don't know why I can't recall it, but
If you'd like, I will, we'll get those for folks to refresh their memory
Okay.
of, but they were vetted in the neighborhood and at the committee and then at the council, and then kind of the consensus pick of the neighborhood and committee and council was the same item, so.
okay. I guess I thought that was a preliminary pick, but it was the final, so that's good. Any idea as to dates, finishing dates, just to kind of
My understanding is they are reasonably on schedule and would anticipate that sometime August, they should be complete and that garage will be functional.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. We're moving along. I saw the concrete trucks out there today. Looks like they're pouring footings or something, so that's a good sign. So, anybody else for other business? Alderman Yost?
A parking thing. I've had a couple other aldermen ask, and last meeting I mentioned that they were going to move one of the parking pay kiosks. That won't be completed until spring because it does require, this is from my cues, some type of boring that we can't possibly do when the ground is frozen. So that'll occur in spring before that pay station is located further east there on the platform.
Very good. Good updates. Any other business? Alrighty, on to item 9, announcements. Any announcements at this time? City Manager Borchert. Almost called you an alderman. Apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just wish to announce that the Elmhurst Character Counts Group and the Service Awards Planning Committee, which is a combination group of the Elmhurst Commission on Youth, the Elmhurst Senior Citizen Commission, and the Character Counts Group from Elmhurst, has announced their 13th Annual Service Awards Program, which will be held at Elmhurst College on Thursday, May 20th, and that organization is seeking nominations for the Character Counts Recognition Award. It's a prestigious effort. We're very proud of the Elmhurst Counts effort in the city of Elmhurst, and of these 3 support organizations, the Commission on Youth, the Senior Citizen Commission, and Character Counts Group, for this wonderful effort that they are embarking on, that they've done in the past. And for anybody in the community, the applications are available at City Hall or from the organization if you'd wish to nominate an individual for their outstanding service to the community or to an organization. That's all I have.
Very good. Alderman Gutenkopf?
Thank you. Just wanted to remind First Ward residents that Thursday, the 25th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. will be the second of the First Ward Coffee and Conversation meetings. This time I'm hosting at Serene Teas, which is at 108 West Park. So come join me, talk about the First Ward, and visit a business in the beautiful downtown Elmhurst. Thank you.
Very good. Say hello to Serene. She's a sweetheart. Anybody else for announcements? I'm going to add one. ECAF is having their casino night this Saturday at the Diplomat West, and we are not legally gambling. We're not illegally gambling. We are legally gambling. There's no money exchanged. Just so you know, this mayor's very pro non-gambling. But it's a fundraiser for ECAF. I know that there are somewhere around 350 people attending. I think they could hold up to about 400. So love to have it sold out. The cause is great. The cause is local kids with sickness and life-threatening conditions, disabilities. And so I believe it's 7 o'clock at the Diplomat West. Tickets are like $70. So if anybody needs anything, please call the clerk's office and we can arrange to get you in touch with them. Anybody else for announcements? Hearing none, it is for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Hipsky? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
We're going back into executive session.
Oh, yeah.
You can adjourn to executive session, in which case no action will be taken in executive session, and you don't have to come back. So there's a motion to adjourn to executive session.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
We have a motion to adjourn to executive session. Second by Alderman York. All in favor by roll call vote, please, from Clerk Spencer?
Do we need that? Okay. Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Gugenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose, absent. Graham.
Aye.
Nybo.
Aye.
Healy, absent. Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Oliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
12 ayes, no nays, 2 absent.
12 ayes, no nays, 2 absent. We are adjourned into executive session. Thank you.